In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to create a text-to-speech application within Flutter. This application will work on desktop, mobile, and the web. Our application is going to have the functionality whereby we'll be able to select using a drop-down the voice that we want to use for our text-to-speech. And then once we've selected the voice, we are then going to be able to click on the play button, hear a sound being produced from the device using the text-to-speech service for the text input that we've given, while simultaneously highlighting the current word that is being said through the device's speaker. To get started, we're going to be using the Flutter TTS package, which will allow us the ability to implement this text-to-speech service on Android, iOS, macOS, web, and Windows. Once you've copied the dependency, you can come on over to pubspec.yaml and actually paste this dependency in. And then once this is done, you can let FlutterPub gets do its magic and actually download the package. Once we have the dependency added and FlutterPub gets done its magic, the next thing that we need to do is configure our project in a way so that it works on Android, and then we'll take a look at the iOS side of things as well. So for Android, all you have to do is come to Android app source, and then from here build.gradle. Then what you're going to be doing is actually taking a look at the default config and then the minimum SDK version and setting this to 21. And after you've updated the minimum SDK version, the next thing that we're going to be doing is coming to main, and then from here the Android manifest.xml file, and then above the application we are basically going to be pasting in the following queries tag with the intent, and then an action which says android.intent.action.tts service, and then do command save, and don't forget to do command save on the build.gradle file as well. Once this is done, the Android side of things should be done. So now we can proceed to iOS, and for iOS we do not need to do anything, so we can actually proceed with running the application on our device. So to do that, what you can do is basically just start debugging the application, and hopefully it should launch up on the device, and then I'll resume the video. So now that the application is actually running on the device, the first thing that I'll do is come to my lib folder, create a new file here, and I'm going to give it the name of const.dart, and here I'm going to be creating a string variable TTS input, which will basically store the input that we are going to be giving to our text-to-speech instance, and do command save. So this is the actual string that we want the text-to-speech API to transform from text to speech. Once this is done, you can close it down, and then again, if you're confused at any point, link to the source code is in the description. Once this is done, I'm going to be coming to the homepage.dart file, which is basically just a skeleton of a stateful widget, and this is the page that is going to handle all of the speech-to-text functionality for us, as well as display any UI elements that we want to. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is firstly coming to our homepage state class and implementing the init state function here. And we're going to be using this function to basically configure our text-to-speech service to actually work properly. So what I'm going to be doing is creating a function which I'm going to say is going to return void. I'm going to say init TTS, and then I'm going to open up this function's body. And then after my superclass's init state function has been called, I will do a call to init TTS. Within init TTS, we are going to be doing a couple of things, but before we do that, we need to have access to our text-to-speech. So to do that, what we're going to be doing is creating a variable of type Flutter TTS, and I'm going to call this Flutter TTS, and then I'm going to be setting this equal to an instance of Flutter TTS like so. Once this is done, let's do command save, restart application, and make sure that everything is working as intended. The first thing that I'm going to be showing you guys is how you can access the actual voices that are available to you from the text-to-speech service. So to do that, what we're going to be doing is coming to our init TTS function. And then here, what I'm going to be doing is basically implementing the function Flutter TTS.get voices. And what this function does is that it returns a dynamic future to us. And basically what we're going to be getting is a list of maps. So what I'm going to be doing is adding a then clause to this, and within this then clause, I'm going to be basically handling what happens once this future completes. So once I actually get the data, what I'm going to be doing is actually creating a function block, and then within this, I'm going to implement a try-catch block just in case an error occurs. Then I'm just going to print this error to the console and not actually crash the application. Once I have access to the actual data, the first thing that I'm going to be doing is creating a list of maps, and I'm going to call this voices, and I'm going to be setting this equal to a list of map that we're going to be creating from the data that we get, which, if we remember correctly, is going to be a list of map, but it's type dynamic. So this is an essential step that I found I had to do in order for things to work correctly. Once we have access to the voices, what I'm going to be doing is just basically printing these voices to the console to show you guys what this actually looks like. So I'm going to open up a new terminal, go to debug console, restart my application, and you're going to see that the output we get is a list which has map objects within it. And for each map, we have a key name and then a locale. So this is basically what each voice looks like. So now what I'm going to be doing is that I'm basically going to be calling setState, and I'm going to be setting up the default or current voice that we're going to be using when our application starts as the default voice for text-to-speech. So to do that, firstly, what I'll do is I'll come to the top, and here what I'm going to be doing is creating a map, and I'm going to say this is going to be optional called current voice, and then I will come back to the setState function. I also want to bring your attention to the fact that amongst all of the actual voices that we're going to get, some of them are not going to be English, some of them might be Russian, as you can see, and some of them might be, I don't know what this language is, but something else. So what I want to do is filter through the voices and only find the voices that are in English, and the logic applies the same if you want to find a language that's something else. So what I found out was that for all of the English languages, the name property actually consisted of the word en within it. So for example, this is an English voice, so you can see that the name property here has en. So what now I'm going to be doing firstly is that I'm going to basically say that I'm going to filter through my voices like so, and then I am going to say that we're only going to select the voices, and I'll do voice where the actual voice name, and then it contains the string English like so, and then I'm going to cast this to a list like so. And we don't have to do this within setState, so what I'm going to be doing is doing it before I call setState like so. And then after I've done this, then I'm going to do print voices again, and hopefully this time the voices that we get outputted are only going to be English voices. So if I restart my application, you're going to see that now we get a list of voices, but all of the voices are only English. So that's pretty much done. So the last thing that I want to do is set the current voice. So for that, what I decided to do was that I said that our current voice is equal to underscore voices dot the first element within our voices list. By just doing this, what's going to happen is that we will now store in our current voice an actual reference to the voice that we're going to be using for our text-to-speech service. But up till now, we haven't told the actual text-to-speech service that this is the actual voice we want to use. So let's quickly fix that. To fix this, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be creating another function, and I'm going to call this function setVoice. This function is going to take in a map, which is going to be voice, and then what I'm going to do is access my Flutter TTS instance, and then from here I'm going to call the setVoice function. Within setVoice, we basically need to pass it a map, and the map needs to have two properties within it. One is going to be a name, so let's add that, and it'll have a value, and then the other one is going to be a locale, which will also have a value. To access these values, we can go voice and then access the name from it, and I found doing it this way actually worked. If we just passed the map directly to setVoice, it wasn't working, but if I did it this way, it was working. So that's why I'm doing it this way, and then pass the locale here like so, and do command save. Then I'm going to take the setVoice function and call it after we set our current voice and pass the current voice to it like so. And don't forget to use an exclamation mark here, do command save. And hopefully now if we restart our application and we get no errors, then everything is working as intended. So now that we have access to a voice and we set up a voice for our Flutter text-to-speech, the next thing we should actually focus on is how we can actually play this text into speech. So to do that, what I'm going to be doing is coming to my build function, and here, as you can see, I have a scaffold. I'm going to set the floating action button property for this scaffold, and it's going to be of type floating action button. Then I'm going to create the onPressed property for this, and for now I'll just set that to be an empty function. And then after that, I'm going to create a child for this. The child is going to be an icon, and it's going to be icons.speaker like so, and I'm going to do speaker underscore phone like so, and do command save. And now we are actually seeing a button that we can click on to actually start the text-to-speech process. So to start the text-to-speech process, all we have to do is do flutter TTS.speak, and here we need to pass it the actual thing that we want to say. So in this case, that is going to be the TTS input that we had created within our const.dart file, and do command save. So now you might not be able to hear it, but if I restart my application just to make sure that everything is working, and then click on this button, I can actually see that the actual text-to-speech process has now started. And you can also see in the debug log that it's giving us an output saying utterance ID has started with the ID. And once this actual text-to-speech stuff is done, then it's going to give us another debug statement letting us know that the text-to-speech process is now finished, as you can see here. So now the actual text-to-speech is working as intended, but what I want to do is have the ability to actually change the voice. So let's implement that now. So to implement the functionality of having a drop-down through which we can select a voice, the first thing that I'm going to be doing is coming to my build function. I'm going to specifying the body property for this, and then I'm going to say this is going to be called to a function called build UI. Once this is done, I'm going to come to the bottom of my class where I'm going to create a function which will return a widget called build UI, and then within this is where I'm going to be returning our UI structure. Firstly, I'm going to be adding a safe area widget just to be safe, and then after that, for the child of this, it's going to be a column, and then I'm going to add a semicolon at the end. For the column, I'm going to define the main axis size, the main axis alignment, and the cross axis alignment as follows, and then once this is done, I'm going to set the children's list for this column to be empty. Then I'm going to create basically another function which will return a widget, and I'm going to call this speaker selector like so. And this function will return nothing for now, but what I'll do is take the speaker selector function and add this as a child for our column. Then within speaker selector, what we're going to be doing is utilizing a widget from Flutter called drop-down button. And then for the drop-down button, we have to define what happens when the actual value gets changed, and then also what are the items for this drop-down button. And then besides this, the next thing that I'm going to be also defining is the actual value for this drop-down button. So the value is going to be the current voice. So let's just set that first. Once this is done, I'm going to be setting what the items are going to be. So for items, all I'll do is that I'll take the voices that we have, and I haven't actually created a variable yet that can help us set up access to the voices. So what I'll do is that I will come to the top of my class, and here I'm going to create a list of map which are going to be voices like so. Then I'm just going to update the actual init TTS function to be that we take our voices and then we do this to them. And then finally, I will call this actual voices function within set state like so, and do command save. And then after this, I will come back to speaker selector, and then I will do, now we'll go through our voices, we'll map through them, and then for each voice, so let me do this, we will return a drop down menu item like so. And then I'm going to change this to a list like so. And then for the child, what I'm going to do is basically define what our drop-down menu is going to look like. So here, all I'll do is that I'll say it's going to be a text, and then the text is going to have the name of the voice within it like so, and do command save. And it's giving me an error for onChanged, telling me that it expects a value that will be passed. So I will just say value here like so, and then that's pretty much it. Add the remaining semicolon and do command save, and we are pretty much done. So now I will do command save, and everything seems to be working. So if I restart my application, it's giving me an error saying there should be exactly one item with the drop-down value this, either 0 or 2 more have the same value. So I figured out what the issue was. What we have to do is set the drop-down menu item value to be the value of voice like so, and then that's pretty much it. So if we do command save now, restart our application, everything should be working, and we should be presented with a drop-down that we can click on and then select a voice like so, as you can see. So now that we've selected a voice, the next thing that I want to do is basically create the UI elements which are going to show us the actual text that is being said. So to do that, what I'm going to be doing is firstly coming to my build UI function, and then here I'm going to basically, after the speaker select, add a rich text, and then here we need to add a text. So I'm going to say it's going to be text span like so. And then within text span, what I will do is that I will say it's going to have a children, and the children is going to be a list of text spans. And why we're doing this will just become clear in just a bit. And within this, I will just add a text span for now, which is going to be the TTS underscore input like so. And I need to set this to be the text property like so. Then add the remaining commas, command save. And now we should be able to see what the actual text is. But to actually see the text, we need to update the styling. So for that, what I'll do is that I'll set the align property here to be text align.center. And then after this, the next thing that I will do is for the text property, the text span that we have, set the styling properties to be the following, which is font weight W300, font size 20, and the color black. Now it shows us the actual text that is being said. So if now I go ahead and actually click on the play button, it's going to start saying, but it's not showing us an actual output on the screen or what's actually going on or what word is being said. So how do we do that? So it's going to be a little bit tricky, but I'll try to make it as easy as possible. So the first thing we have to do is somehow get information about what word is being said or where in the string are we in terms of position or what actual stuff is being said. So the way I found you could go about this is by actually implementing a callback function, which is going to be the set progress handler. And what this is basically going to do is that this function is going to be fired while the actual text-to-speech process is happening. It's going to tell us the actual text that is being said. It's going to tell us what the current position within the string is of the actual start of the word that's being said, then the end position of that word, as well as the current word that's being said. So what we actually are really interested in is the start and the end position of the word that is being said within our string. So somehow if we can have access to this, maybe we can update our text and maybe display it in a way that it highlights that certain text snippet in a different color. So to do this, I will do set state first, and then I will create two variables at the top. And these are going to be variables which will store the position of the start. So I will do underscore current word start. And then I will do another one, which is going to be current word end. And then within my actual set progress handler, set state, I will do underscore current word start is equals to start. And then current word end is equals to end. And now what I'm going to be doing is actually taking the TTS input string and dividing it into three parts. The first part is the stuff before the words that's being said. Then the second part is the actual words that is being said. And then the third part is the stuff that's being said after the word. So this is why we were using a rich text widget. A rich text widget basically allows us to implement other text spans within it. And for each text span, we can define the styling that we want to have for the text span instead of using different text widgets, which we could have done, but this is a better way of going about it. So here we have this children's list. So what now I'm going to be doing is that I said to you guys that we're going to have 3 children. The first is going to be the part of the input that is before the word that's being said. So to do that, all you have to do is keep the same text span, but do tts.input substring. And then we're going to give it a start index and an end index. So the start index in this case is going to be from the start of the string, so 0. And then the optional end index is going to be the start of the word that's being said. So from the start of the string up till the start of the word that's being said, we're going to display that. Once that is done, then what I'm going to be doing is actually adding some logic. So if our current word start is not equals to null, then we're going to be showing the next text span, which I'm going to copy and paste in like so. So this text span is going to be a substring, but this time we're going to be going from the current word start to the current word end like so. And then what I'll do is that I'll set the styling property for this text span to be such that for this text span, the color of the text is going to be white, and then the background color for the text will be purple accent. And then finally, the last thing that I will do is that I will have another if statement where I'm going to say if the current word end is not equals to null, then we're going to show the last part. And for that, again, I will copy the same text span, and we don't want to update the styling for this, so let's keep it like this. And then this text span, we're going to take the stuff that's from the current word end all the way up to what our end of the string is, which we can get by actually not adding anything to our substring function. So from the position that we give all the way to the end. So if we don't specify an ending position, that's the logic that's going to happen. So if I do command save, hopefully all of the logic should now be set up. So if I restart my application and click on the play button, you can see that now it's showing us what the text-to-speech process is doing and what word is currently being said on the device. So with that, that's pretty much it for today's tutorial. If you enjoyed it, then please don't forget to leave a like on the video as well as subscribe to my channel so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.